Rocky.
Oh, there we go.
Okay.
How's that? We can
Yeah.
almost see you, Mommy.
We can almost scoot over.
Oh, and lean back. Lean back.
Oh, okay, okay.
All right. Here we go. So, welcome to FroN'Girls and Mom.
And Mom.
Yeah, Mom. All right, everybody, hold up your glass. We're going to have our simultaneous sip.
Second sip of the day.
Oh,
So
boy.
squishy.
Yeah, well, that's the thing.
Why didn't we get rid of the pillows?
Oh, I don't know. I think it'd be fun. I think it's nice being all squished together.
Yeah, it's nice.
Yeah,
All right.
lots of body warmth.
So, what's the question of the day?
The question of the day is, why is it important to remember what it's like to be a kid? It's kind of long.
Remember, don't forget what it's like to be a kid.
Yeah.
Why is it important? I'm not convinced.
I think it's important to remember what it's like to be a kid because when you're a kid, you don't have like a lot of different of things you have to worry about. Like you have to worry about school, but you don't have to pay your rent. You don't have to buy groceries for your family. You don't
Are you
have to
bragging?
take care of your kid.
Are you bragging right
I'm
now?
not trying to brag.
Trying to
I'm
make
just
me feel bad?
No.
I think what she's saying is that when you're a kid, you don't have to carry around the past, and you also have more free time, other things that you really want to do.
Man, being a grown up
And
sucks.
so- No, there are
When you're a
positive-
kid, you have free time. You don't have any responsibilities, and then when you're a grown up, you just got carry around this ball and chain and your mortgage. All right, yeah,
Well,
okay.
I think it's important to remember childhood. Remember when, how is it like a kid? It help you to remember where you come from.
Mhm. Also, I think.
What do you mean by come from? Come from in terms of physically where you came from and the family, and because I feel like I remember those things. Or do you mean come from in terms of your own personal maturity and growth, and come from as in the previous version of yourself?
All of that,
Oh, okay.
right?
Also, it's important to remember your childhood as it because it's. I guess this is basically Mommy's point, but how we study history to understand better how it is that we came to be what we are today,
Right.
and that's the same with just yourself, though it's just on a smaller scale, with less factors being played in. But if you understand your childhood, you can understand things that go into who you believe you are extremely deeply, because it's what you've carried around with yourself for your entire life. And so I think that's a really good point that Mommy made, that it's important to remember your childhood so you can understand where you came from.
Wow.
When I
That
when
was so
I
powerful.
exactly
I want
how
to be a child.
exactly how Sumi articulated. When I look back my life, it's kind of a history book. How you can go from the whole family's surviving on one acre of land, and to today, the drastic changes happened during my short life. Not too short, but
Pretty short.
less than
Pretty short.
You're
A
still, you're
human's
still
life
young.
is very short.
So it's kind of remarkable how things could change in a little over 3 decades, and I'm very grateful for everything we have because I had nothing when I grew up. And all the technological advances happened, during this period is mind blowing.
All right, you're gonna have to keep joining these podcasts, honey. You're too good.
Yeah.
Okay, so we got to remember our childhood.
Yeah.
It's another dimension is that, like, the way I grew up, the culture is so different compared to the culture we have today. And to the most part, it's a big improvement. But there are things that, old ways of, doing things really is solid and great, and we shouldn't forget.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. When you're like, it's like this question is what it feels like to be a kid. Like you can remember different memories of like what happened when like different things that happened when you were a kid, but you want to know exactly how you felt how you felt right then. So
Sort of the mentally what it's like.
yeah.
Yeah. Also, I think you should.
Well, then describe it. Help me get into it. Maybe I'll
Okay.
fake it till I can make it.
Well, I just wanted to mention how you told me about this this quote, I think, that someone said kids should pretend to be grown-ups and grown-ups should try to be like kids.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Kids should pretend to be grown-ups and grown-ups should pretend to be kids.
And you were saying that felt right to you, and that felt right to me too, but it might be helpful to kind of get into why.
Yeah, and what that actually means.
Mhm.
Like, doesn't mean that.
Yeah.
So like, tomorrow.
It's not like I should start trying to hand out resumes.
Yeah, no, because you already got a job. Oh, what's up?
Yeah, you already got a job.
Okay. So children should act like adults, and adults should act like children. So I think that the children acting like adults is more self-explanatory because it's
kind of like
you
you
kind of want to
learn.
push yourself.
Yeah.
You know.
Be more mature.
Yeah.
More responsible.
Yeah.
More responsible. Yeah.
And then for the adults should act like children, I think what that means is don't take yourself so seriously. Like.
Yeah.
I think that there's an obsession that just takes over where adults have this constant desire to want to prove to other adults that they're worthy and successful, right? And so I think that can distract. That's something
They
that kids
also,
don't have, right? Kids will just discover things. Kids seem less afraid to fail a lot of the time. They'll just try something, right? And part of it is I think that they haven't gotten as obsessed with the whole like keeping up appearances game because they don't have an appearance to keep up. People look at them like, okay, you're a child, so they don't expect anything anyway.
Yeah.
So if they screw something up, they're just like, whatever. You know? And yet, so if you build something, though, you build that reputation, and then you want to maintain it, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh, so serious all the time, and that's no fun.
It's also the curiosity that kids' mind have that adult should try to keep, right? Little baby are so curious. They want to.
Another really good one of what
Because
that
everything
means.
is
Curiosity.
Everything is more new to kids, whereas with adults, there are fewer new things to see, and everything, like a car, that's just something that you've seen over and over and over again. It's not interesting. Whereas with a little kid who's only seen 2 cars, oh my god, it's a car.
Unless it's a Tesla.
Right, then it's
it's but it's actually the world to the adults should be the world to the kids should be the same because the world is very complicated
Yeah.
and the world is changing all the
Yeah.
time, right?
And like compared to how much there is, like adults only know like this tiny little bit more to kind of like get to knowing about everything and all the complex nitty gritty facts about how everything.
Okay, so that's one big thing about the adult brain that I think is frustrating and difficult, and for kids to maybe understand is like when you have all these experiences, you've carved out all these neural pathways for how to interpret the world around you.
Right.
And what that means is that it's just constantly filtering, and because of confirmation bias, you're basically putting a lens over the world that makes the world seem like that which you already understand and believe is true.
Right. And then but you can't really see the lens through your lens.
Right. And you can't really see the reality. So like if you are, let's say you just think that politicians are cynical and that's like part of your worldview.
Right.
And then you turn on the TV and then you see some politician saying something that you think that they're just lying through their teeth, and you're just gonna be like, oh yeah, that's just the way it is. And maybe you didn't even really hear what they were saying.
Right.
Because you're just basically projecting your view of how you think the world is onto your perception, right? And so kids don't do this because they don't have all these preconceptions. Right? And so you can just observe the world for what it is without labeling, without blaming, without, right? You're free to just observe. And that I think is probably the biggest difference between the kid mindset and the adult mindset. And it's like, how do adults get their minds out of that rut where they can break free?
When meditation work, because if you think about nothing and then you come back, does your preconceptions come back immediately?
I think meditation helped me check in with my blind spots or my ignorance or my preconceptions about the people. And also I do this like certain type of meditations. You kind of focus on realizing how similar everybody is. We have more similarities than differences, and we're all in this together. We're all struggling to be happy. Like these really help me to not to like quickly judge people or judge my situations or judge what's going on. The big picture, and keep the open mindset and
Yes.
keep on learning, keep on being curious about other people, about the world, about everything going on.
Okay, yeah. Now I know why Sumi brought up meditation. Yeah, because I'm remembering the article now. Because it's been a while since I was doing that. I usually don't do meditation unless my life is falling apart or I feel that way. And I'm like, oh no, I actually have to do something that's good for me.
Yeah, like also go back to one of our favorite movie, Peaceful Warrior. One thing we needed to do often is to take out the trash, and adult needs to do it more often.
We
than
got
kids,
a lot of trash
because we have a lot of trash up here.
You don't rub it in. All right. Well, let me talk a little bit about the meditation bit.
Got so much trash.
I want to try to clarify this point. So part of meditation, a big part of it is simply going through the process of being in that moment, being in the now, and not labeling the experiences around you, just observing them. And so that's why you're bringing this up, right? Like that is part of the child mindset, right? So when a baby, first comes into the world, what are they doing? They're not, their brain isn't just being like, oh yeah, there's another car, right? Like you were saying that they've never seen a car before. They just observe it, and then they hear the sound, and they're just taking it in, right? They're just taking it in without and they don't have any preconceptions, right? How could they have a preconception?
Right.
And how do you apply that as an adult? obviously that's harder
I
because
think
you
that's
have a lot
one-
of reasons for having preconceptions.
Yeah, I think that one of them, what you said earlier, like not taking yourself so seriously for adults, like I think that's helpful because you can kind of think about, well, like not everything that I think is actually necessarily going to be right. Like you were saying that one of the things that you were saying was like, well, maybe one of your preconceptions is that like politicians are cynical. And then, well, then you can kind of think about like, you just, if that's in yourself really like strongly, so it's gonna be really hard to kind of question what you think to be true. But I think it's something that's really important if you have like a lot of preconceptions, because then you can kind of think about what is true and what is just an opinion that I have that I probably shouldn't think about so seriously because it's just an opinion. And so,
Okay, so that's one way that adults can try to think more like kids is to
Yeah.
not hold on so hard to beliefs,
yeah.
right? So like
And that's really, really hard though.
so like right now, this was coming up just last night. I was talking to a family member,
Yeah.
and I won't say who they were voting for, but they
Right.
were just like so angry, right? They're just like to the point of like I was trying to explain that at the end of the day, I didn't think that the election was really going to be the thing that solves all the problems in the country, like that
Mhm.
that basically
Right, yeah.
the real issue is like with the electorate that you know as a country we're gonna do much better when we learn how to listen better and respect
Right.
each other more, right? And this family member, I don't want to mention any names. That's not the
Yeah,
point.
yeah.
But he just kept coming in going, yeah, but the people on the other side, they're just, I can tell you there's like 20 of them that are just rotten to the core. And I'm just thinking, like, first of all, having such a strong view about another person and what motivates them is almost always a bad idea. Like, I can't.
Yeah.
But the second one was just the level of anger, right? If you have that level of anger associated with a belief, how on earth are you supposed to have an open mind and avoid having a preconception and just like see the
Yeah.
world for what it is, like a child? Like it's like impossible.
Yeah.
So this is a great topic.
Yeah. Isla got this question.
Good one, Isla.
Good job.
All right, so Isla, you're the youngest one here. Tell us how we can do it. We're ready. We want to be young again.
Yay!
Wait, me?
When I drink coffee, it makes me feel young again for about an hour, and then I want to take a nap.
Yep.
No, I'm just kidding.
Yay! I feel
I
free.
thought caffeine stays in your system for like 5 hours.
5 hours.
Yeah. Well, there's a half-life. But let's come on, Isla, save us.
Okay.
We all have
Well-
these. Mommy and I have all these preconceptions, and we want to take out the trash. How do we do it?
Yeah, well, basically, when you're trying to be a kid, you have to always, just be aware of yourself and be aware that one day it's like you have to be aware of yourself right now. And not just the world around you, but yourself right there. Know what I mean?
I want you to elaborate on that.
Okay. So when it's like some people, it's like when you're trying.
Could
Oh,
I?
come on, it's really.
Go ahead.
Okay. I just think with kids you kind of have to be flexible. I think it's like I feel like one of the things that might make someone more like a kid would be to be more flexible with admitting you're wrong, because like with more like time, then you probably have like more of an ego, and so it's harder to admit that you're wrong. Like let's say you like the thing that grandmom sent, she sent like this little foam thing that we could put together, and it's kind of like if like a kid was putting it together and they kind of like saw that the pieces wouldn't really fit together very well, then they'd kind of be like, oh, okay, 1 second, I need to like rearrange these. But with an adult, they're like, I know what I'm doing. Like,
I know what I'm doing.
And then it's just like,
Don't tell me what to do.
But even if they might be wrong with theirs, I feel like that might be something.
Yeah.
That's
Well, children, of course, they're constantly hearing from their parents how they're supposed to improve and do better, and that kind of forces them often to apologize. And so they're kind of used to this idea that, oh, well, I'm a flawed person with lots of room to grow.
Mhm.
And then at some point we move away,
Right.
and then we don't have dad or mom there telling us
That's what
like,
to do, yeah.
you screwed up real bad today at the office, and like you should apologize to your supervisor or whatever.
Yeah, like no one's
and
telling you.
nobody's telling you anything, so you can just sit there and like live in your own head, especially if you're not married. Like for all the single people out there, watch out, because there is no better tool for maintaining a sense of humility than marriage. Because you're stuck in the house with this person that knows every promise that you didn't keep, right? every vision that you had that you never acted on, like, they know, right? And so you can't run away. You can't run away. But you can run away from yourself.
Right.
Oh, you can run away from yourself. You can run away all day, right? So it's like, when you're living on your own and you can just keep telling yourself, oh, this wasn't my fault, and then this is the reason why I failed to do that, and then blame, so that when you look at yourself, you can be like, yep, I'm still perfect.
Yeah.
Every problem wasn't my fault. And you can't do that when you're in a marriage. So stick with it. We're huge fans of marriage, right, hon? Where's your cup? Mm-hmm. There we go. Cheers to marriage. I think marriage can help people. I don't know. This sounds counterintuitive. Can marriage help adults maintain, like, be like a kid? I'm going to answer that question, yes, because they can have babies and then watch those babies and be like, can we act like that?
Right.
So that helps.
Yep.
Yeah. I think having children around is a great way to try to
be like a kid.
Be like a kid.
Whereas with your like around, I think also one thing is that it's kind of like with adults they kind of have to loosen up a little bit more, where it's kind of like they feel like they have to like maintain like this image of themselves that they're like professional and like if like when we're
I try so hard.
Like, yeah. With the poops. No, but it's like when we're at a neighbor's party, it's like let's say you like brought some foam swords and you'll just be playing foam swords with all the kids while all the adults are just like they're just trying to. I mean.
Well, it's hard, and
like
society puts a lot of pressure on adults to do that. Adults are rewarded for doing these things.
Mm-hmm. Well, I love to do everything your kids are doing. And learn.
Yeah, I think mommy likes doing that because I think one of the things that makes mommy more like a kid is that she came here from China, and so then
I never did any of those things.
You never really did any of those things.
Oh, somebody said that the parents are raising beautiful, bright children.
Yay!
And somebody keeps hitting a heart button. It's just like heart.
Yeah.
That's making me feel more like a kid just watching it. It's just like, wow. I didn't have any preconceptions. It's totally unexpected.
Yeah, because I think when she came to America, like everything was new. And so.
Oh, yeah.
I think that.
New experiences.
New experience.
We need to get out.
Can you not interrupt?
I want sorry.
To focus. I want to follow up on Sumei's point. Is that I think when I try to do these things with kids, it really helped my, not just my brain, but my body to stay young, because I'm always trying to use new muscles when I'm doing rollerblades or climbing stuff at the school playground or trying out new gadgets, new ways of moving. So it's really awesome. And also like when Sume and Isla start to cook a new dish,
Mhm.
your excitement is contagious, right? Being for a long time, like I'm just going to order food because cooking is a lot of work and also cleaning up afterwards. But now these days, you girls are so into
Yeah, we're cooking
making
a
new
dish
dishes.
every day.
And it's awesome because we're
Yeah,
kind
wow.
of in the process, we're learning so many different things. Like it's
Yeah.
really like chemistry, biology, like a lot of things. And that's also like kind of motivates me. Like when I watch you kids cook,
Yeah.
it's exciting.
'Cause like
It's motivating.
if let's say if like we went to like some country that we've never been before, we're not gonna have like a bunch of preconceptions because we've never been there, and I think that kind of it kind of gives you like a really new perspective that you can kind of. I think that when you're in a new environment, it makes it easier to question like your lens because all around you are things that you've like have like if let's say you were just here and you were trying to question your preconceptions at like all the things around you you already have preconceptions with, whereas with when you're in a new environment you can kind of like look back at your old self more and kind of think about, well, is this really true? And I think that a new environment might be helpful.
I think this is really, really important.
Mhm.
And there's so many things that we can do with this. You can go to a different grocery store. You can take a different path to work.
Yeah.
You can talk to somebody new.
Mm-hmm.
Try out a new job. Try out a new hobby. Read a new book. Like
Right.
it's like
Learn a new
Just a
language.
little
new. You
small
gotta do
thing.
some do little micro new things.
Uh-huh.
Because otherwise, like if you just keep watching the same show, or if you just keep exposing yourself to the exact same people day after day after day, then it's like you are gonna just start to get more in that rut.
Yeah, it's gonna.
But
yeah.
the Ravens home, it's like it's pretty good, but I kind of want to watch Stuck in the Middle a third time.
Okay.
But
Because
Danny,
they're
this is like who was
I
it that watched
I think
Dora the Explorer the same episode 14 times all
That
the way
was
to
me.
China? Okay, yeah.
well, I think
I
Isla is
trying
actually
though.
touching on a very deep point. You know, I've been thinking about there are say shows or movies or books that's so great. Like
I mean,
you
he was just
can-
saying to try
I'm
to
not
do something
talking
new.
about the kids. I'm talking about
Right.
the adults.
yeah, even for adults, me like it's a great.
Kids are supposed to act like adults, right?
Yeah.
So doing the exact same thing all the time and
That's
acting,
great.
try to act boring.
Yep.
Yeah.
Right.
But I have a point to make
Okay,
is that some of the best books, I think from my personal experience, I should revisit once in a while. So I can actually remember them and
Well, he's just saying
internalize
to
them.
do like some new things.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't.
I haven't finished
Okay,
my
yeah,
point yet.
Mommy's excited.
So nowadays with Netflix, with Disney Plus, with Hulu, with Amazon Prime, with Apple TV, with Roku, like we have so many shows,
I didn't know she knew all those.
all these media streaming platforms, right? We have so many, and then you also have traditional TV.
Mhm.
You know, you can watch a new show, a new movie like every day. But I found out I actually like Isla. Some of the greatest shows I want to watch it again or maybe a third time. A lot of new shows are not good, not worthy of my time. So
Yeah.
I kind of need to make a judgment because the new experience did come with a caveat, right?
I know.
Wait, I don't get the caveat of the new experience.
It's
what's the
it's right now because we tended to make new shows, right? Or a sequel to a new movie series. But usually, like after three, the ones follow like in a movie series. Usually after first three movies, the later ones are not as good, with a few exceptions, right?
one can trick themselves into thinking, be like, well, I watched that Periscope and they said to try something new, so I'm gonna watch
All the
a
new
fourth
shows.
different TV series today. Like
Yeah.
that's not really
So
necessarily.
Yeah.
it's passive
It's-
experiences that I think
Yeah, I'm really more for
more
visiting a new
new
country,
active
trying out a new
experiences.
job,
Mhm.
meeting new people, like writing about different things. Like so we're constantly
yeah.
writing, right?
Yeah.
Because we don't really call it writing so much. We call it structured thinking, right?
Or just another
Find
way
some
of
new
communicating.
concept. Yeah, communication.
Yeah.
So we're writing all the time, right? And when we come up with new topics to write about, like my brain lights up. Like I'm on fire. Like
Oh
like,
yeah.
we
Yeah.
were-
yeah.
like
I
we'll
know.
go off, we're supposed to be talking about the app, right? And then all of a sudden I'll start talking about like friendships. And we just walked for like 2 hours. We're just walking around, right? This is assuming and we're just talking about what actually helps build deep relationships, right?
Right.
And then we go back and we're just like writing. We're just I mean that was new. And then we share with people and guess what? The feedback we get about that, that's new,
Uh-huh.
right?
Yeah.
And
so
so-
that is.
That's a great way to, I think, kind of have these new experiences that get out of the rut, that help us act like children, is to just expose ourselves to new ideas and share them with new people.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a new experiences that you actually need to push yourself a little bit. It's
Mhm.
not a sitting on the couch just remote. Use
Not
a
like
remote.
Oh,
that.
ourselves! I thought you said push Sume.
Oh,
Sorry. Sorry. Wow, this is a good topic.
Yeah.
but how do kids be more like adults? Like, what are the strategies?
I mean,
I
they're
think
already
these
doing it. They
two
sound like
are
little
doing it.
adults.
Yeah.
What is it about children acting like adults? Like,
What part of the adults you want to mimic?
right.
Because there's a lot
The
of
boring part,
No, I think-
make sure that your lawn is perfect.
No, I think that the no, I think that the thing that children want to mimic is like to try to be mature. Because with children, there's not a lot of pressure to kind of try to be responsible and to kind of like.
Are you
to,
saying you need more pressure?
No. But when they try to be like adults, and it's kind of like, since they're children, people aren't expecting them to be aren't expecting them to try to be mature and responsible, and like if you're a child, you can get away with just being super childish and like, because you're a child, like but
Sometimes
but if
children act like
Yeah, that's a
Yeah.
common phrase. Be like, sometimes kids act like children. Yeah. So what's your advice then for children that are hoping to, like, what would you say to an 8-year-old or an 11-year-old about like the importance of acting like a grown-up? Like,
I think it's not so
concisely,
much.
what does that mean?
I don't think it's so much as like acting like a grown up, but more like trying to act like more mature, and to just not only just be like, oh, okay, I'm a kid, like I can just get away with it, and to just more be like, okay, well, I can just try to grow on myself, and I can try to be more mature. Just because I'm a child doesn't mean that I can't try to do these things. And just with a child, it's like, being a child is a great opportunity to try to do that, to try to have that transition to be more mature, because if you fail, well then you just like, and you kind of like act childish, well that's not something that's like, it's not going to be like a super huge deal. Like if you're a grown up and you're like do something childish, you're probably going to have like bigger consequences. So with a kid, you kind of have more room to fail, and you can kind of do that trial and error process more safely. And so I think that's
Well, kids
Good
definitely
opportunity.
have the freedom
yeah.
to fail more than adults, and
Mhm.
that's a good reason why they should try to take more chances. But
Yeah.
like,
Also, like
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
at one point, I was thinking is that there are things other kids do to you that you don't like, and one way to be more mature is don't do these things back, right? And
Or to respond impulsively to them.
yeah.
What is it though conceptually that kids generally don't get, and then by some time when I don't know in their teens or in their 20s or something clicks, and they just start to become more responsible people that want to exert their influence on the world in a positive way. And this
Because they
doesn't happen to
have more-
everybody, but what is it?
I
Something.
think there's more pressure too. I think because you have to you start to get more responsibilities. When you go into college, like you have to get a job. You know that you're not going to be able to just live with your parents your
Is it
entire
fear?
life. I think it might be
I mean,
fear.
fear
I
is
think it
like
might be fear.
it's probably
Fear
fear.
It's probably
Fear
At
just
some
like
point, you're like,
pushes
oh,
you out of
crap,
your
I
comfort
want to graduate.
fear.
What am I gonna do with my life?
I can't use my parents' credit card anymore. It's I need a
But kids shouldn't just purposely fail because they know that they can have more chances.
Yeah, well.
Oh
not
yeah.
purposely fail.
Yeah, but just.
Yeah, that's true.
That's true.
That's true.
So here's one thing. Let me throw this out there as a theory.
Yeah.
So I think that one thing that prevents children from wanting to act more mature is that they don't realize that they actually have the power to influence the world.
Yeah.
And that is a key difference with you kids.
Uh-huh.
Is that pretty early on, Mommy and I were basically saying, hey, you guys have the ability to do amazing things.
And you are influence your parents as much as we influence you.
Yeah, we made ourselves vulnerable to being influenced by you, and we encouraged you guys to go out there, take chances, and show yourself by looking at how the world would react to you that you are powerful people, that you have a voice.
Mm-hmm.
And once that clicked, that was you. When I asked you, I was like, Sume, what happened? Because you changed. You were like, ta-da! And you just wanted to write, and you just wanted to learn, make new friends. And you're just like, go, 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 go. And I was like, I gotta figure this out. This is really, really important.
Yeah.
And I asked you, I was like, what happened? Remember you told me about Sapiens.
Yeah.
Talk about that.
Okay, so my dad wanted me to write a summary of the book Sapiens, and at first I was not enthusiastic about it. I was like, oh my god, I have to do this summary again.
How old were you? This is like 2 years ago?
This was like 2 years ago, yeah.
So you were 9, and I hand you this book, and it's like this thick. Sapiens?
Yeah. I mean, like, I read the entire Magic Treehouse series when I
Read
was
this and summarize it for your blog. And you're just like,
okay. And then so I was not enthusiastic about it, but then when I started sharing it with my parents, and they I was trying to write it to make it more like funny because it was Sapiens for kids, and I was making all these pictures on Google Slides, and they were like laughing, they were really enjoying it, and I felt really confident. I was really proud of my work. I was like, wow, this is actually really cool. And that's when in the middle of writing Sapiens, and then I just started getting really excited about what I was doing, because I knew, well, I'm also putting this out on my blog. I'm sharing it with people. And
yeah, you were getting reactions
like
from
things-
family
yeah,
and friends
yeah.
and stuff.
Yeah, like Sapiens has like
That was the
200
influence, though.
I remember every evening I read just a new thing you wrote, and I just crack up. Like I was just
It's really
makes me
funny.
laugh. But
Sapiens-
it's also very, very to the point, very deep, and it communicated so simply and precisely.
So then, 6 months ago, we were like, we need this thing to happen to Isla too.
Yeah.
Like it was like, and we were like talking to her about it. We're like, Isla, what can we do to make your brain just light up, where you would realize that you aren't just this little person. You're not like in this little boat in the middle of the ocean just getting tossed around by the waves and the wind. without a paddle. Because that's the way I think a lot of children, I think a lot of children feel like that. Some adults feel like that too, especially if they're constantly blaming the world for everything that ever happened to them.
Right.
But if you can realize that you actually have the ability to row and go where you want to go. So it was like, what was it? And then you had a very similar kind of experience. In fact, we kind of engineered it,
Yeah.
right? And it was about positive psychology,
Yeah.
right? That was it. You want to talk about that? Like what that experience was? Like you're writing before and you're writing after, like what happened to you mentally?
Oui.
Go ahead.
No.
Woo!
Do I talk about the experience?
I mean, I want to know. I want to know what happened to you in terms of your mindset, like before and after. Something clicked.
I can talk about mine if she's not ready yet.
You just did.
I know, but my mindset.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Go.
I think for me, like at first, I kind of felt like I didn't think of my Sapiens article as something that people could actually like look at. I just thought of it as like another, like it was kind of like a project from school where I was just like, oh, I gotta write about this. But then when I started realizing that people were actually enjoying what I had wrote, I felt more powerful because I knew that what I wrote today could affect how like my mom felt when she read it, and and if someone else wrote it, it could affect how they thought or how they felt as well. And then since I could actually have power over that started making me feel more confident, and I really wanted to make something significant because I knew that people would actually read it. And even though I don't know if that many people were actually reading it, but I knew that you and Mommy were reading it, and Isla was reading it, and so that was something that made me feel like that I wanted to make Sapiens one of my best work, was because I knew I actually had impact on other people with what I wrote. Whereas with a school project, it's basically just you write something, the teacher gives you a grade, but no one else really sees it. So
Your parents.
well,
Sometimes.
Oftentimes the parents
not.
don't see it either.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's a good point.
Mhm.
Well, this has been kind of a marathon Periscope,
Yeah.
Okay.
but this is a really good topic.
Yeah.
I think we touched on so many important things. I'm going to have to rewatch this a couple times and take notes. Maybe we could write something about it.
Yeah, because you're saying we could write a short article about every.
Oh, we should
Periscope.
write
We should
about
write
this
about
one.
It.
Let's write about this one.
Okay. Yeah.
And then we can share it because we're starting to get more people. We should just share.
Yeah. Okay.
Then we can associate it. Yeah.
Okay.
Cool.
Am I supposed to say about the positive psychology?
Yeah, definitely.
Oh, yeah,
I just didn't want to. I didn't want to put you in an awkward situation if you didn't want to do it. But you go right ahead.
Okay.
Go.
Basically, when I forgot how it started.
Daddy
I
just
think
wanted
you're
you to
just-
write something about positive psychology.
Oh,
And
okay.
gave you some videos.
Okay. So my dad wanted me to write about positive psychology.
You should probably tell people what positive psychology is.
Positive psychology is the study of what makes people happy. So I was like, okay, this is I'm just like, okay, I'll get this over with. I'll write this because, I don't want to make my dad upset, but.
Rule number 1: don't make Daddy angry.
So I just started watching the first video, and my dad started me off. And when I was watching it, I found some really interesting things. So I started writing it down, and then I kept writing and writing and writing. And then I looked at what I wrote, and I'm like, I did that. And then so that kind of like empowered me to keep like writing about like, and then writing about positive psychology. And then my dad went on a walk, and then he came back, and then he looked at me, and I was still writing.
Well, you kept rewinding.
Yeah, I kept
That was the key, because you hadn't done that before. Before, you would just watch it and kind of go through it, and you'd be writing as it would play, and then I could tell you were kind of trying to get it done. And then this time, you were watching to understand, because you were very interested. And then you talked about it when Go Guardian interviewed you guys about what you were doing.
Yeah.
And the way you articulated yourself on that interview was really powerful to me, because you took ownership and you stood up in a way that you just hadn't before. And so that was when I was like, okay, yeah, something clicked. So we were talking about this because we were talking about how children should act like adults, and adults should remember how to act like children. And I'm not sure exactly what either of those mean, but I think we definitely got closer today. And I think it's worth writing about. I think that this is something that we need to put down on paper.
Yeah.
So.
Or virtual paper.
Virtual paper.
Yeah, or
Mm-hmm.
All right,
gotta
well,
get the quill and the
should
ink
we
out.
end this episode of FroN'Girls and Mom?
And Mom, yeah. Isn't Mommy a girl though?
Right. Okay, yeah.
But
Mom's
she's
here.
a-
We'll
It's
just
then
say.
we'll just say
She's
Frozen
an adult.
Girls. But
She's
if
an adult.
Benjamin's here, we'll say Frozen
Right,
Girls in bed.
but she's also trying to
Frozen
act
girls in
more
bed.
like a child, so we can say FroN'Girls.
Yeah, exactly.
You're just one of the girls, Mom.
Yep.
All right. Well, thank you, everybody.
Okay.
You're lucky.
No, you hit
Daddy's
the
just
arrow.
I don't know how to do
No,
it.
you
It's
just-
technology.
You
Just
hit
the
the X and then you hit.
Crack it.